you have started kind of entering the fitness industry and doing your own thing and have been at it about a year. I'm pretty new at this. And so how has that been going from, what was your other job?
Yeah, so before I started working for myself, I worked for a private sports performance facility. I ended up being general manager and running a lot of it and programming. And it was very scheduled, regimented. I knew what I was doing. I was in the groove. Could probably tell you what was going to happen every day for months. And but decided it was time to move on and spread my wings and kind of be my own boss and follow my own vision. It was scary, man.
So just
really
kind
scary.
of got tired of feeling too comfortable there, that it was time to, what's the next step to grow, and this was it?
Yeah, in a way, for sure. I felt like I had got a lot of work done there. There were some things that I still wanted to do that I know I couldn't do if I stayed there. And I wanted to be true to my vision and my passion. And even though I had a client lined up and kind of a way to go out on my own, it was still really, really scary. I have a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah, man.
And 30 years old. And it's not the greatest time to just hop off on your own. But I've always bet on myself, and I believed in that. But how about you? 2 weeks?
Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks. Prior to this, I mean, I've had real job not in the fitness industry. It's been in the petrochemical field and refineries and selling turnaround work, stuff like that. And that's where I've been the last 8 years. And so the stuff that I've always done on the side has always really been on the side. It was never this main source of income. Even though Hate Brand and a YouTube channel and all this stuff has continued to grow, it never was affecting the real job. And then, you know, the writing's kind of been on the wall with the direction the business was going, that I think at some point they were going to decide not to continue pursuing the region that they had me running.
Gotcha.
And so they did. And definitely time to make the move and go out on my own, right? And yeah, it's for sure scary. It's for sure scary to have that guaranteed 9-to-5 paycheck that you can sleep on and you know it's coming. But I mean, luckily for me, you know, I've had 3 years to build the other one on my own, and I've never been stupid financially, right? I'm 34 and married, and so my wife and I saved money and we put money away for the mortgage and we did these type of things. So there is a bit of a safety net to it, but it's definitely a different feeling now and a different drive, because this is it and it's about me.
Was there a definitive moment that pushed you over the edge, and like something that happened that you're like, yeah, I'm doing it?
I mean, like I said, they let me go, so I mean, that was
pretty
the definitive moment. But the definitive moment, the difference in that is, like, I know that I can pursue other jobs in the industry.
Okay.
I've been in it long enough that I know I could get work.
Yeah.
So the real moment was deciding not to do that and to go ahead and go out on my own and be that guy.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, talking to my wife and her reassuring me, we're fine. This is going fine. Don't stress. And then it was talking to guys like Mark and talking to Kelly and talking to Chrissy with Donuts and Deadlifts and these other people that are doing it. And it's been really reassuring to have those voices who are people I trust, right? That would tell me, like, nah, man, it's not what you're doing, you know, don't do that.
Right.
And so it was good to have all those people say, well, about time.
That's
that
awesome.
was a way better feeling.
Kind of similar to that, you know, I was a step removed because in my business, it was so scheduled and regimented. I didn't have time to come out and meet Mark and learn from him and do those kind of things that I really wanted to do. So I met Mark this past year, but what he did in his story and the content that he put out inspired me in a lot of ways to step out on my own. It was a living example of, you can do this. Not only is it cool, but you can actually make a living at it as long as you bust your ass and be the best you can be at it. And I've never worried about that for myself. It was more about, am I putting my efforts into the right venture so that you can actually make money? And
that's the other side of it too, because I know doing your own thing, right? You end up kind of spread out across this fan of, you know, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do this. And so you got to pay way more attention to what's working and what's picking up, and then try to do more of those things. And then what doesn't work as well, try to get away from. Yeah. You know, don't invest all your time and this energy in this thing that isn't going to return for you. And it's been really motivating to see what guys like Mark have done. You know, I got a chance to get to know Mark and interview him about 6 years ago. Wow. And this was, you know, they were still at the old gym. Yeah. I mean, they had, you know, talking to him and talking about the story with he and Andy deciding to go out on their own was, I mean, they were broke and decided, let's bet on us. Yeah. And that's paid off full. And man, that's a big motivating story, and that's the American dream, right?
Yeah.
Like, do your own thing, answer to nobody, and if I'm gonna invest in someone's dream, it'll be mine.
Yeah. And you hit on a good point. Mark having Andy, you having your wife supporting you. My wife's been incredible.
Right.
I mean, when I said I wanted to do it, she never batted an eye.
Right.
Obviously, we discussed our family. And I told her, I was I'm not going to wreck my marriage over this. You know, if it's better for me to stay, I will. But 100% she supported me. She believed in me. And that actually gives you a lot of confidence. I mean,
sure.
it really helps you push you forward. And there's even been days when, you know, maybe you're doubting a little. And my wife's like, you know, freaking get your butt moving, figure it out. You can do it. And it helps to have that in your corner a lot. Where do you see everything goes perfect in 5 years? What are you doing with your business?
Whew, in 5 years, I see just Hate Brand continuing to do as it's doing, except for more of it, right? So, I mean, I see we're still putting out the quality and doing the design work that I'm passionate about, but we're selling more of it at a chunk.
Yeah.
And then the offshoots of that are the other things I care about. You know, I'm starting to play around with talking to different coffee roasters and things like this, and so we want to start producing some coffee because this is something I care about. I really like coffee.
Or coffee you hate.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're fueled by hate. And then the other side of that is starting to figure out. I was really fortunate to meet the team that I've got working with Hate Brand, because since I had the business or the other job lined up, like, I knew that I was never going to have time to box and ship orders and do this thing out of my garage. And so I set it up from day one that I had a fulfillment team. And what that gave me the freedom to do was I just automatically said, okay, there's this added cost. And if you're going to do apparel or anything, it's a quantity game anyway.
Yep.
You're not going to make any money unless you can sell enough of it.
Yeah.
And so having that part set up freed me up to keep doing the things that I'm good at for the business. Me packing boxes doesn't help the business at all. What me helps the business is doing this, is me traveling, is me competing, is me working on design stuff, me putting out more YouTube content, not making sure these 5 shirts went into this box.
So let me say back to you what I'm hearing you say, because I think it rings true with me. Since I've been working for myself, it's allowed me to put my time and energy into my passion and my strengths. Whereas before I necessarily couldn't all the time because I had other obligations, and now I can. And what I'm hearing you say is the same thing. You're able to put your time and energy into your passion and your strengths and what you're good at.
You know, and I'm sure you felt this too, like when you're working for someone else, there is always a sense of busy work.
Yeah.
And what I mean is this thing it's not really helping do anything, but because you're part of this bigger team, you have to do some of it. And I had enough of that right at the old job. You know, that's expense reports or doing these call reports and saying what I was doing here and there. And it's a really freeing feeling working for myself that I don't have busy work ever. So if I'm working, I'm driving forward. I am trying to pursue that new thing.
Everything you're doing is mission critical.
Right.
I mean, you're only choosing those tasks, and things that aren't, you're delegating. It's being a smart manager. You know, for me, even at EFT where I used to work, you know, there was a lot of things I did because it was a small business and someone had to do it. And a lot of people stepped up and did things, and I had my role and I just did it. But now that I'm working for myself, where I was putting time into those things, I'm putting into doing something like this. And it's able to expand my knowledge base. And getting inspired and working with other people in the fitness industry that are awesome like you. And it's also putting me in a situation where I'm able to share my knowledge, and that's important to me. For me, I'm really passionate about teaching and giving back. And learning as well. So I'm super fired up about the direction I'm able to go in.
You know, along the same lines of what you asked me, I mean, where do you see your business in another 5 years? Do you see hiring other coaches to work underneath you and kind of building that thing? Or are you trying to keep it a little bit more boutique? And
yeah, I think if I had to put it in 5 years, I'd like to have my own facility, probably in Florida. I'd like to have it a mix of...
Doesn't snow there, ever.
No, it doesn't. It's awesome. And I'd love to have it a mix of powerlifting, weightlifting, CrossFit, whatever you want to do within that realm, Strongman. And then also have a sports performance side where I could privately work with high-level athletes. And for me, I don't want to get back into training 10 or 11 hours a day. I'm never going to do that again. I don't necessarily want to be the gym manager either. I want to influence it. I want to direct it. I want to make good decisions for the business. But I also want to be in a place where I can work with select group of people. It doesn't have to be pro athletes. If there's a high school kid that really wants to get better and we click it well, sure, I'll put my time into it. but I also want to make sure that I'm educating. It's so important to me. I love working, when I used to do our internship, trying to teach our younger guys stuff, you know, our female trainers, whoever they were, we try to teach them more things. And I really passionate about that side of it, and I want to continue to expand avenues in that. Obviously, the problem with teaching is a lot of it's free. You know, Mark's the people's coach, right? He gives content free all the time. So you need to have the business side to supplement it. But I really want to get into that and maybe consulting with gyms and trainers on how can you make your product better, which is making your clients better.
You know, so you've been at this a year and doing your own thing. At what point do you feel comfortable that this isn't going to turn off tomorrow overnight?
I haven't got there yet.
Good to know.
I haven't got there yet. I don't know that you ever will, because before I knew if for some reason I couldn't go to work, my kids were sick or I was sick or whatever, the clock keeps running. Maybe it doesn't run as efficient or as well, but it keeps running. You know, even since I left, the gym's doing incredible things. They're growing, they're doing awesome. If I don't show up to work, nothing happens now.
Right.
If I don't push it, nothing happens now. If I don't try to go out there and put myself out there, it doesn't happen. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned this year is I ultimately affect my outcome, and I have to be who I am, but I have to be humble and I have to stay hungry, and I have to go out there and put myself out there and put myself in situations. It can't happen if you're not there. And I'm really working on shouldering that responsibility, owning it and doing it.
That owning it, I think that's what I've always loved about whether it was, you know, individual sports, right? I played football growing up. I think kind of everyone did.
I did.
And then getting into track and field or getting into the Highland Games or Strongman or powerlifting, right? I always really loved I guess the weight of like my success or my failure is based on me and my effort. And you know, I may not be the most talented guy. I may not be the biggest guy. I may not have the most gifted genetics, but I'll be damned I'm outworked.
Amen.
You know, I can show up on time and I can work my ass off. All those things have nothing to do with my genetics.
So in Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of his first biographies, he said that he hated soccer because he couldn't directly affect the outcome. It's one reason why he got into bodybuilding, because he knew at the end of the day, the buck stopped with him. And I think it's not being selfish. I just think it's a characteristic that some people have, and it's just how they're wired. And there's almost comfort in the uncertainty of knowing that actually it does revolve on me, and that's kind of comforting. It's an interesting thing.
No, I definitely enjoy the chaos more than I do. I mean, I'm sure that desk job and 9 to 5 for somebody sitting in a cubicle doing the same thing for 30 years is a dream for somebody. Yeah. But no way. Yeah. There's just no way I could do that.
And the beautiful thing about the country, the great country we live in, is if that is your dream, and here's the thing, maybe it's not your dream. Maybe your dream is taking care of your family, and that's the way to do it.
Of course, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm saying no, and I'm saying, and for you, you know, or whoever that person is, they're like, I don't love my job, but I'm happy I'm taking care of my family, and that's awesome. For me and you, I think we were lucky enough to work on ourselves and put ourselves in a situation where we could step away. Yep. And we could do it. And some of that is a testament to what you did. Some of it's just blessing, you know, some of it's just good luck. And those three things combined together, you know, luck favors the prepared, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we just prepared and we pushed, and I know for me, and it sounds like for you, it's the same thing. Like, you just keep pushing on those doors, and eventually someone opens.
Now, what do you think about, you know, recommendations, right? Let's say, you know, we've got a 19-year-old kid here, loves training, you know, he's been lifting for 5 years, let's say tops, and has decided he wants to follow your business model tomorrow. What's your, I mean, do you say, yeah, man, open your own business, take out some loans, give it hell, or do you say you need more time to have the credibility to be able to do this?
Yeah, I would say heavily from my field, go learn from somebody who knows what they're doing. From my field. You have a real responsibility, especially at a professional level, to people with some real money on the line. Yeah. And it's not as simple as I kind of understand training and how to get a little bit stronger. It's way deeper than that. There's prehab involved. There's mobility, metabolism, nutrition. There's so many recovery methods, modalities. How do you?
Strength's the easiest part of it.
Exactly. how do you make the elite athlete, even mentally, a little bit better? Because that little bit makes a big difference.
And that's all you're doing with an elite athlete, right? You're just trying to allow them to be at their best when they compete. Yeah. You're just trying to give them as many cards to play you know,
well said.
They've already got the tools.
Yeah.
They just have it. They're different than normal people.
Yeah, well said. I really encourage, you know, and even with our interns, I used to say, you're in the right place because you're putting in the time. Like, that's the thing that you can't fake. For me, in college, I trained hundreds of people for free. When I first got my job, I'd work 13 days in a row, 10, 12 hours a day, because guess what? I knew that for me to be better, I had to put in the time to get better.
It's everything.
You know, 10,000 hours, right?
Yep.
But it's true. And the problem is a lot of people want to shortchange that and they think that they're there. But there's, again, it's a fine line between you being confident and you being arrogant. But experience breeds confidence.
Of course it does. But arrogance is the one that's easy to avoid.
Yeah.
And that's the being willing to say, I know why I'm here. I know what people took me under their wing, and then try to pass that on to other people, right?
Yeah.
You know how to. I mean, that's the one thing I'm trying to do now is bring more people that reach out to me that I think have quality apparel or design, or even if it's not in the fitness industry, that are trying to do different stuff, and try to say, you don't have to waste all your time doing the fulfillment thing.
Yeah.
You know, so let me help you set that infrastructure, and then you can do the thing that you're good at. You know, I think if people stick a little bit more to their strengths and figure out how to delegate their weaknesses, just be willing to always work hard and love this constant.
Yeah.
You know, this thing that you can always put a 2.5 on.
Amen. Preach it, brother.
Dude, this is a pleasure.
Pleasure, man. Love it.